Hello and welcome to the latest investment market update. I hope that you're all keeping well. I'm Brian Morman, Chairman of Brunsdon Financial, and today I'm being joined once again by Mark Shields, Investment Director at Brooks Macdonald. Brooks Macdonald have been carefully selected to manage the Brunsdon investment funds, and using their expertise, the team analyse movements within the market and make tactical changes. Today, we're taking a closer look at the change of governments around the world. So Mark, first question that we're being asked quite a bit lately is, what are your thoughts on the new UK government's likely impact on UK asset prices?
Yeah, hi, Brian. I think in general, the sort of change of government has been quite well received by markets. In fact, when the Labour sort of party announced their significant victory a couple of weeks ago, we didn't really see much movement in markets at all, really, within the UK, or indeed within currencies as well. So I think the Labour victory is very much priced in. I also think that actually, generally speaking, a sort of period of potential political stability could be quite well received by markets in general and investors. And I think we have widely been perceived to have a bit of political turmoil over the past sort of 14 years or so. So in general, we believe that the change of government has the capacity to be potentially beneficial for UK asset prices. And indeed, we've started to see large international investors start to allocate to UK assets once more, partly due to that political stability, also due to the fact that UK assets are looking very cheap.
Okay, and of course we overlap onto the US with the political situation there as well at the moment. How do investment markets perceive victory on either side?
Yeah, in the US, it's probably a little bit more complicated. Unlike in the UK, where I think a lot of the polls and predictions suggested a strong Labour victory, and indeed the Labour Party had moved themselves very much into the sort of centre ground, moved away from the Corbyn era of several years ago. In the US, the polarization between the Republicans and the Democrats is much more extreme, and indeed their policies are quite different as well. And there isn't really something that may be more meaningful within the centre ground. The Democrats probably are more centrist, but you obviously have the risk of a Trump-Vance-led Republican victory. And I think off the back of that, there are some questions as to whether that's likely to have a big impact on US markets. Quite a bit of it would potentially come in the form of future perceptions of risk more than anything else. So the US is more complicated, a little bit harder to get a bead on. For what it's worth, we've been quite active to try and reduce overall exposure to the parts of the global investment market that we feel are at most risk of a Trump-esque victory, such as reducing exposure to China. More recently, obviously, we've seen Joe Biden step aside and Kamala Harris move in. And clearly, again, that has probably opened up the competition once again. And over the summer months and coming into the autumn, we'll have to watch things closely to see if we can get a bit of a bead as to whether either side is making more kind of extremist moves. But we will have to kind of see how that pans out from here, I think.
Okay, and thinking about these change of governments and indeed around the world, what changes have you made recently to the portfolios?
So, as I mentioned, one of the main ones we've done in the in the global sphere more is to move away a little bit from China, which we think is potentially particularly exposed for a Republican victory if Trump gets in. He's already announced that he will significantly increase tariffs on assets coming from China, and the increased isolationism that would be inherent with a Trump victory. Aside from that, we've maintained exposure to the UK. We feel that the UK is looking very cheap, and it seems to us that a period of political stability and maybe increasing interest from overseas investors may well drive interest in the UK market, and that does seem to be moving forward from here. The other area where we've seen quite a bit of political upheaval has been Europe, obviously with the French kind of elections recently, and also the lurch to the right in Germany. But we don't have a tremendous amount of exposure to Europe at the moment, and part of the reason for that is that political risk. So we haven't necessarily needed to make too many changes off the back of the European political situation because we haven't got that much exposure there anyway.
Okay, Mark. Well, that's a good brief look around the world and looking ahead. Reasonably positive times at the moment and positive thoughts going forward. So thank you for that update, Mark. And thank you indeed for listening. As always, if you have any questions or queries, please be in touch. Thank you.